With all that said, I want to introduce Taylor Albrecht, who I mentioned to you is the president, founder of Central Colorado UAS. He has done enormous work for the drone industry, especially pushing this event, pulling it all together. He's also the president of TNL Aviation. They provide aviation education, pilot proficiency courses, as well as aerial photography and mapping. And I can personally vouch for that with my law firm. We've used him on a couple of property cases. So he does excellent work too. So with that brief introduction, Taylor, I will pass it over to you.
Well, thanks a ton, Zach. Really appreciate it. And we are really happy to have you. You might see my eyes kind of going up. I'm seeing what you guys are seeing up there on a big screen that's up ahead of us. So good morning and welcome to the 8th UAS Roundup hosted by Central Colorado UAS. We are excited to have such a distinguished gathering of industry experts to discuss how the latest regulation changes are or will impact their operations. And we are delighted that you took time out of your busy schedules to join us. For those of you who don't know, Central Colorado UAS is a group of pilots and people interested in unmanned aerial systems. Our membership includes recreational flyers, professional photographers, search and rescue, police, fire, and other public safety personnel, along with others just interested in the technology. Two of our most important missions are public outreach and education. Our recent successes in this area are notable. In October 2020, in cooperation with the town of Buena Vista, we broke ground on a unique training facility intended to help first-time pilots learn basic skills. More learned pilots hone their flying skills, and racing enthusiasts enjoy practice and competition in the rarefied air of the Colorado mountains. We also recently received our first grant from the Chaffee County Community Foundation to help stand up an unmanned aerial program at the Buena Vista High School using Unmanned Safety Institute's industry recognized curriculum. We appreciate any support you might offer to our efforts, which are not limited to the Central Colorado region. To kick things off now, I have the distinct honor and privilege of introducing a champion of aerospace and a strong supporter of our efforts for UAS in Chaffee County. Jay Lindell is the Aerospace and Defense Industry Champion for the Colorado Office of Economic Development and International Trade. Jay and the COE have been longtime supporters of the UAS Roundup, having been the primary sponsor for this year and for the event for many past years. Jay is here to update us on the state of the aerospace industry in Colorado, of which we drone operators are a part. Please welcome Jay Lindell. Jay, if you would go ahead, there you are. And I'm going to get rid of me and I'll start your presentation in a second.
Well, thank you very much. And I look forward to the Roundup every year. And what a great gathering it is. I miss being at Princeton for the Roundup. And it's such a great get together there. So hopefully later on this year, we can do that again. But really appreciate the introduction and happy to be a part of this today. What I'm going to talk about overall is the state of the aerospace industry in Colorado, of which drones are a part of the industry. When we say aerospace, unmanned air systems are a part of aviation, space systems in Colorado. And so I'm just going to give a broad overview of the industry, which is really a nexus of business, government, and research and development. And the economic impact of aerospace in Colorado is $40 billion. And when you look at roughly a $380 billion economy, we're just over 10% of that. So big business here in Colorado. Now, I will say most of that is space. And when we're producing satellites that are $1.4 billion a satellite, those dollars really add up to a big part of the economy. But I have a lot of fun promoting all sectors of aerospace and unmanned air systems especially, and look forward to getting together. Next time we can do this in person. Okay, let's see, are you advancing slides or can I do that? Oh, great, thank you. Hey, first, I want to just, the cloud hanging over all of us, obviously, right now is the pandemic. And so I just wanted to review the Colorado data. There's our COVID-19 data as of last week. Notably, sadly, over 6,000 deaths here in Colorado due to COVID-19. We're well on our way to vaccinating. There's the numbers of vaccinations you see as of last week, and that number has greatly increased in the last week, vaccinated with one dose, so 2.2 million. And we're getting to, with most of the vaccinations will be a 2-dose vaccination. And so those numbers are rapidly increasing, and we're going to vaccinate our way out of this pandemic and get our economy back on track. It already is looking very positive with the numbers of the economy growth and on track. And so looking forward to getting together again here. Okay, next slide. Great, thanks. Okay, the aerospace economy overall in Colorado, we're number one in private sector employment in aerospace, and that's per capita. So there's a state on the West Coast, California, that employs more people in the aerospace sector, but 7 times our population, and that's why I say we're number one private sector space employment. Number 2 overall behind California in our economic revenues and the employees. So it's big business here in Colorado. Over 290 space-related, aerospace-related businesses. You can look down through those numbers, direct employees, the indirect employees. I want to highlight the fact that in 2020, through the year of a pandemic, we had over 10% employment growth in aerospace. Now, a lot of that is contributed to the large defense portion of our economy. Defense was exempt with a number of restrictions due to national security requirements. NASA's also, and NOAA, another 25%. You look at roughly defense as a 60% plus to 65%. NASA, NOAA, another big chunk. So heavy federal government funding with national security programs, important programs through NASA that were still well funded, so still resulting in growth, still employing people, where we were able to maintain this over 10% growth, and looking at a national average of 3.7 nationally. So Colorado's doing well. And I'll highlight that we are also propelled by a great university at CU Boulder, a top recipient of NASA Research Awards. And I happen to guest lecture at CU Boulder in a couple different courses in the engineering college and business college. So I've got to talk about CU Boulder, but they are such. When you look at the academia piece and the research and development, so much is propelling our economy through our university system in Colorado. Okay, next. Great. Hey, I don't do this, I'm a champion, but really what I do is, that's just title, what I do is connect. And so I work through a lot of industry associations across the state to propel aerospace in Colorado. I spent quite a bit of time yesterday at a industry event. It was in person, by the way. We were able to do that. But I work with all these, and I have an aerospace account that the state appropriates, and I'm able to help fund events such as this event today and help those industry associations really propel, like I said, the industry across Colorado. Two government organizations I work with on the bottom. I work with our state legislative aerospace and defense caucus. In normal times, I would be meeting with them every month in session and speaking about aerospace, how important it is to our economy, as well with our congressional delegation in another forum normally held once a year with our congressional staff in what's called a Government Aerospace Affairs Forum. So that's really what I do. I do a lot of speaking, a lot of engagement, a lot of telling the story of aerospace. I work with multiple industry associations and with state and federal government officials to promote this industry sector in Colorado. Okay, next. Great. There's technology. This is advancing fast in Colorado, faster than you would think. Now, advanced manufacturing's been around for a lot of years, but the 3D printing and so forth is still changing the way we manufacture end items here in Colorado. Another sector that's really growing is the artificial intelligence autonomous system sector, directly related to UAS operations, by the way. And satellite systems are really employing, obviously, they're unmanned systems that orbit the Earth, but being controlled and operated autonomously, and a lot of intelligence, artificial intelligence, incorporated into satellite operations in the space industry in Colorado. So great to see. And I'll say most of that is through defense intelligence agencies that operate. Much of it we don't talk about happening in Colorado, but it adds tremendous capability to defense of our nation. Augmented reality, I tell you, I walk into businesses and I just want to comment on augmented reality here. I'll go into an engineering office and I'll see people with goggles on, just pointing in the air, touching things in the air. I'm going, wow, are they spaced out or what? But they've got these goggles on and they're going through how to manufacture, how to do part changes, how to design things. And it's amazing what we're doing with the engineering in the aerospace industry with augmented reality. Quantum is growing, quantum computing. I think all of you have heard about quantum, but it is really growing here in Colorado when you combine quantum with the 5G networks, how we generate, store, develop information, turn data into information from these satellites that are sending gigabytes per second of data and turning that into real information. Tremendous growth with quantum in Colorado. And next slide there. Just to talk about some systems. Everybody's aware of GPS, and it's developed here in Colorado, produced here in Colorado, controlled and operated right here in Colorado. Lockheed Martin's prime contractor for the GPS-3 system, 32 satellites, developing for U.S. Space Command, and will be operated right here, is operated today in Colorado. But GPS enables unmanned air systems to operate freely, autonomously. And so tremendous impact to our economy in all sectors of aerospace, all sectors of the economy. And you look at that number, $1.4 trillion economic impact of GPS. That is a national impact of the system. Those numbers are derived from the National Institute of Standard and Technology. They're reporting in 2019. But wow, you can't even fathom the impact. And it's not only the positioning signal. What's really important is the timing signal that comes out of the GPS system, a timing signal that synchronizes our whole global information system. In fact, and that's accurate to 10 billionths of a second. In fact, you won't get an ATM transaction unless that synchronization provided by GPS across our financial network, our financial systems, is operating to 10 billionths of a second. We need GPS to operate our economy, to operate in the world economy, manufactured right here in Colorado, produced, controlled, operated. Okay, next slide. There we go. Wildfires and drones. Got to talk about this. There's always a concern with Department of Public Safety every year when our wildfires kick up in the western part of the state, but not only in the western part of the state, but other areas. But with drone operators that can be very helpful in detecting, initial detection of a wildfire. But once a wildfire starts and it's a restricted airspace, drones have to be cleared out of that airspace and allow the firefighters to do their job. And in some years, we've had aircraft not able to operate in the airspace due to drones operating in the airspace. And normally these are hobbyists that are just trying to get pictures of the fire and so forth, check on their house, see how their house is doing. But it's a concern every year when our wildfires start here in Colorado. So just a note, if for all our industry associations to help educate and get the word out on when wildfires start, drones clear the airspace, stay out of the airspace. They normally become restricted airspace to allow the firefighters to operate in air, but we can't have drones operating in the airspace unless it's a firefighter controlled drone, which they have, but all other hobbyists and so forth need to be out of the airspace. Okay, thank you. Next slide. Space. Hey, everybody's heard about the Space Force. It's a big deal about Colorado. Just to explain what Space Force is, it's a separate military department, much like we have an Air Force, a Navy, a Marine Corps, and an Army. Now we have a Space Force. It's aligned underneath the Department of the Air Force, much like the Marine Corps is underneath Department of the Navy. But this is a big deal for America, big deal for Colorado. We have so much space focused and national security capability here in Colorado. Now a Space Force, and we're well overdue to defend the nation in the space domain with a Space Force. Next slide. Yeah, there we go. Space Command. Sometimes when I speak publicly, audience doesn't quite understand the difference between a Space Force and a Space Command. Space Forces are military departments, all headquartered in the Pentagon. A Space Command is the warfighting command. They're the ones that generate the capabilities and requirements to defend the nation in the space domain and operate the space systems to defend the nation in the space domain. Today, provisionally, we have U.S. Space Command located in Colorado Springs. There had been a decision made by the previous administration to base Space Command in the great state of Alabama, not as great as Colorado, but the great state of Alabama. And our congressional delegation is all over with a Department of Defense investigation, as well as a GAO review of the decision. And we hope to have a change of course, to have Space Command in Colorado. It just makes sense with our ecosystem that we have in Colorado, the space operations that have here, to base Space Command in Colorado. Next slide. And that is it. I really look forward if we have some time for questions about space and what's going on in Colorado. Taylor, I'm not sure if we have time, but if we do, I'd love to take any questions.
Jay, I think I'm going to turn that back to Zach. We are right on schedule to the minute, so I'll leave that up to Zach. And let's see if we can get that going for you, Zach.
I, yeah, Zach, I'm going to be here all day too on, and I can do chat with people that may respond with questions also.
Yeah, right now we don't have any open questions, but I'm guessing some will come up. There I am. So yeah, Jay, I guess if you want to just stick around, I'll let you know as soon as stuff comes up specifically that you can get at.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Jay.